Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Farmer EnvoyXtreme here, and this time it's going to be sort of part 1 of our deep look at the brand new Precision Farm DLC for Farm Simulator 22. And how I'm going to do these videos is going to be a series of videos. I'm going to break down each little step. So in this video here, I'm going to look at the general overview. Obviously I've got things up, so I've got the new equipment, also I've got other equipments for other bits we're going to look at in other videos. But yeah, so first of all we're just going to look at the general overview, what new equipment you get, and we'll go from there. So if we go into the help menu here, once you've got the mod enabled, it'll bring this tab up so you can look at this all different sections, and we will be breaking down all these. Like, I'm going to do some tests like with the RTK stations, where it says the AI workers are going to be up to 11% faster than before. And I'm just going to do a little general deep dive on how to improve your environmental score in future videos and all that other good stuff. So look at the general settings. It says the following: this precision farming mod adds more realism and aspects to real farming in Farm Simulator. The main focus is different soil types which influence the growth of your crops. The mod is an overview of the map which is dedicated to new, more detailed information about the soil at a specific spot of the map. This map can be accessed by the tab next to the world map in the menu. And obviously this is all brought to you with the collaborations with main partners like John Deere, the European Institute of Innovations and Technology, and so many more. And at the bottom it says EIT Food in Europe's leading growing agri-food innovation interactive, with the aim to create more sustainable and future-proof food sector. The initiative is made up of the consumers of key industry players, startups, research centres and universities across Europe, including Cambridge. EIT Food aims to collaborate closely with consumers to develop new knowledge and technology-based products and services that will ultimately deliver a healthier and more sustainable lifestyle for all European citizens. So that's just a little basic overview. So yeah, first of all we're going to look at some brand new equipment you get. Starting off with the RTK stations, and there's two versions. So we've got a little version here and you've got a big version here which looks like a shed, but you can't actually use it. It looks like a shed but you can't actually use it. And this we find under tools, so go to our build mode. So building shed, sorry, not tools, and at the far end you got these. So you got the building with RTK base station and shed with RTK base station. Obviously the bigger shed is 39.5 grand and the small one is only 70,500. So yeah, that is the RTK stations. And next we're going to look at some brand new equipment, starting with how to do soil samples. Obviously, we'll cover this in more depth in the second video, which will be how to do soil samples. But basically, the short overview is you can either use this mod here. So we'll hop into Landini here. So you're going to use the Isaiah scale, and this will simply take soil samples, put into these little trays, you send it off, and then you'll get it back. And depending on how many soil samples you do in one go, like with 19 it takes longer. So if you send one off, you'll get it back within literally like 5 seconds I've looked at. And obviously if you do more and more soil samples, obviously it takes slightly longer, and of course there's a cost to this. Or simply go over to your fields, go to the precision farming area and just select whatever field you want, press triangle, and then you'll get your soil sample. You can purchase it. For example, field 42, it requires 70 samples which cost £850, and of course there's a service provider cost if I was to get people to come out of £637. Fairly reasonable. I've got no issues with this. So this will cost you in total just under 1,500, and for a little field like this, that is very reasonable. Also, whilst we're over here, we can have a look at the sort of general aesthetics of how it's laid out. So on the Precision Farm tab, you got all your soil types, which you got loam sand, sandy loam, loam silt clay, and eventually you'll say soil sample taken, and that is when you also do soil sample, and that what it means. So it's taking a sample, but doesn't know what the actual soil type is. So of course you've got to send that off. Once you get it back, then you know what soil type of that particular area you've taken samples from. Next, you got your pH levels, and this would be controlled by your lineman. Again, I'm going to go all over this in a separate video, so I'm going to be pretty brief over this. So don't worry if you don't know what to do with pH levels or how the variable rates of application. I'll cover this more in an upcoming video. Nitrogen is basically your fertilizer, of course, depending on the soil type. Similar to the pH, always requires different amounts of pH in the area, or in this case with nitrogen, like a certain amount of kilograms of nitrogen per hectare. And one thing I'm going to look at, because I looked at this in 19, and I personally never had this in 19, outdated data. And basically this is where you've taken your soil sample, after so many times it'll say data is no longer valid, or in this case it's outdated, so you're going to have to take another sample again. In 19, I experimented this with 10 years with seasons, and I think something like 50 or 60 harvests. Yeah, in 19, about 50 or 60. I did a video, I'll leave a link to that in below for those still playing on 19. But yeah, so I didn't get this, so this could be an interesting test to do. Next, you got your yield. So basically, you can get up to a 125% yield bonus. So 100% is obviously your base rate. It can go as low as 50%. So if you don't do the plowing, if you don't do weed control, you put too much nitrogen in, or too little, or put too much lime or not enough lime on, of course this will have a greater effect on your yields. We'll go over this again separately in a different video. So the next, you got your seed rate, and again, depending on the soil type, either you need to put little seeds in, or standard seed, or you need to put more seed in. And of course this does depend on the soil type, and we'll go over this in the menu section in a bit. And of course all this brings up your environmental score. So depending on how you do, base rate you get 50. Obviously if you do little steps like taking soil samples, you get an extra 7 points for taking the soil sample. And then again, it all covers different little bits of information. And with the economic analysis here, it shows you all different bits of details you need to know, so such as how much it costs to take soil samples, how much lime you've used, how much fertilizer you've used, manure, slurry, seeds, herbicide, fuel, and even things like vehicle maintenance and the AI helper cost. And also it shows your yield, so how much you get per ton, or how much liters you get, or tons, depending on basically how good you do. Then it brings a total cost and your total earnings. So yeah, back into the help menu. Also, for example, here with variable seed rate, again depends on what crop you're doing and the kind of soil type. Of course, sometimes like with loam sands, you're going to generally have a high amount of seed usage. Compared to loam, it's going to be very low. Again, we'll do proper tests with this in a different video. But yeah, so that is basically the soil sampling. Next, there is 2 crop sensors. So we've got the Aspiria Proactive, and there's also the Aspiria Compact. The difference is with this Pro version, the Proactive, you can use this day or night, whereas with the Compact you can only use it in the daytime. And basically this is what you use to get your accurate nitrogen level. So again, if we go into the help menu, goes crop sensors. Again, we'll go over this properly in a different video, but if you go down to the bottom, there are 2 sensors available. One is active and one is passive. So actually, sorry, it's proactive and passive, not my error on that. But yeah, so the active sensor is mounted to the front, as seen in the screenshot above, or in this case with what I'm using at the moment. uses pulsating light source and can be used day and night. And the passive, as I said, is mounted to the cabin mirrors and requires daylight to function. And of course, you can only use this when you're growing certain crops, when it's at a certain growth level. And again, if you're running with seasons or not, of course, when you take these sensors, it does vary. And of course, again, we'll go over this in depth in different videos. So yeah, if I try to get all the information in one video, it's going to be just so overwhelming. So I'm going to break it down into several steps. And to find this, actually, so if we go into our tools, and I think it's under miscellaneous. So yeah, you got your Xperia Scout. This is a 3-point mountain hitch, which I forgot to mention. Basically, you can use a tractor, you can use the Mahindra or the John Deere UTV. Similar with the Xperia Proactive. The Scout costs 17,000 and the Proactive costs 23,900. Works at 11 miles an hour. And it's got a base weight of 150 kilograms. However, if we go into different options, so we've got a 600 kilogram weight, 750, 1000, 1500, 2500. But of course, it does go up. So, for example, with 600 kilograms, obviously its total weight is 750 because the actual equipment itself weighs 150 kilograms, but you can put additional weights on. So obviously, if you're having, like, for example, what I've got here with the John Deere R732i power spray, this may weigh the tractor down at the back, so of course you need a bit of weight at the front. And I'm not sure what I've got. I think that's the 600 kilogram weight I've got on here. So, but yeah, speaking of which, we'll go on to this shortly. But for the passive, for the one that's mounted onto the mirrors, don't think I've got it mounted onto here, but I think I've got it mounted onto. I should have. Anyways, we'll have a look here. So, if we go into vehicles, and I'm pretty sure this works with even modded equipment. So, do we have this option available with modded equipment? I don't think so. I think it varies with. Pretty sure there was a mod one that I did use, but guess not. So, but with all base game equipment, it'll come with this option, as you see, the Xperia Pro Compact. And if you go no or yes, and in the shop menu you'll say Xperia Pro Compact. I'll give you basically what we covered: detects the real nitrogen levels in the soil for our crops now while driving the sensors over the field. You'll get a more precise information and all the other good stuff. And again, it says compared to the Proactive, the sensor can be used in the daytime. So if we go and toggle, see above the mirrors, got some little sensors, and there is a little sensor on the roof as well. So at this time, as far as I'm aware, modded tractors and that don't have this option enabled. I thought it did. So it's up to the modder if they want to enable this, but all base game equipment will come with this. So don't be surprised in future updates to equipment you'll see a lot of modders adapting this to their equipment. They may do, they may not. They don't have to. I do like to stress that, but again, up to the modder's own discretion of what they want to do. But next, we'll go on to the fertilizer spreader and the herbicide. So, with fertilizing, you can use solid mineral based, which ideally with precision farming you don't want to do that. Ideally, you want to use natural solid manure, digestate, and slurry. But if you can't do solid fertilizer mineral based, you can use liquid, and this is where the John Deere power spray comes into play. So again, this will be fine under tools. We'll go to sprayers, right at the far end, and we've got the John Deere R732 power spray, 52.5 grand base, 28 meter work width, works at 7 miles an hour, weighs 3.8 tons, and holds 3,360 litres of either herbicide or liquid fertilizer. Again, what you can do, depending on what mods you're using, for example with the John Deere A2X, you can get the integrated tanks, or you can get in the the Demco SideQuest 1000. So again, different options available if you want to increase the capacity of your equipment. I do recommend using these with the power spray, personally, if I was using it on my own Let's Play series, but anyways, the power spray. Wheel options, we got trailer board, Michelin, Continentals and Mitas, Verstring, back trailer boards. As far as where it's all standard or narrows. Michelin standard only, Continentals standard, Mitas standard, Verstring standard. So if you've got crop destruction on, you'll need narrow tires. So, and again, this is a good option. I've absolutely loved this, the amount of detail. We get the seat and spray option, so you can use this as a normal, liquid sprayer if you wish. But with the seat and spray, it says weed spot spraying. With this configuration, each nozzle spray will only turn on while there are actually weeds below the nozzle. With this, you'll save 90% less herbicide, reducing the cost and protecting the environment, which is a good thing with precision farming. Obviously, if you put too much herbicide on, what can actually happen, you'll pretty much burn the crop essentially with the chemicals, not only causing damage to the soil with environmental impact, but also the general quality of the crop. So if you're using this for herbicide spraying, I do recommend using the seed and spray. But again, we'll look at this in more depth in a different video. But lastly, we've got a brand new equipment. Not the actual sprayer here, that's part of the base game version, but we do have a brand new slurry tank. So this can be found under tools again, and we go down to slurry tanks, go out to the far end. So we're using this one here, we're using the Bomec Multi 4XL. Of course, you can use different slurry distributors if you wish. Don't have to use that. But we're looking at this. We're looking at the Grant Colt PTR 30,000. The 30,000 means it can hold 30,000 liters of either digestate or slurry. It weighs 50.6 tons base, requires 350 horsepower, and works at 9 miles an hour. So if we go into here, again, options, we've got trailer board, Michelin, Verstring, and then back to trailer board. Wheels are standard, so no wide, no narrow options. Color options, so we've got all your pretty much your base game options with the optional green, dark green, and black that comes with this equipment. So for example, we can go pink, that will change the main container, and then ring colors, you've got silver or black, so not much options there. But here, John Deere manure sensing. What's this, you may ask? Again, we'll cover this more in depth in general and test this, but the brief overview is the John Deere manure sensing will detect nitrogen in your manure, as nitrogen in the manure is never homogeneous. The sensor guarantees the application of the same nitrogen amount over all of the fields, which makes sense because obviously manure, it's not like 1 litre of manure, it's not the same as another litre of manure. So basically this ensures even distribution and even quality over the entire field. So yeah, again, that is pretty much everything covered in terms of what equipment you get and just general overview of this. Of course, in my next video we'll look at soil sampling, and yeah, so I think in terms of videos, we're going to do one for soil sampling. That's going to be a short video. I'm interested in looking at soil types at some point. That's at 3 hours down the line. pH and nitrogen levels, really interested in that. But yeah, also interested in the environmental score, because obviously just sort of the basic overview of this, like different aspects. So depends on your tillage, if you're using plows or if you're using a shallow cultivator, that will help with your score, your nitrogen, pH levels, your weed control, and yeah, it breaks down here into detail, so feel free to pause here if you want to look at this in more depth right now, but I will do a video on this in the coming days. I think depends on how long it takes to get these videos out and edited. But yeah, so I do feel sorry if it feels a bit rushed, a bit of information overload. Again, all the individual aspects of this Precision Farming DLC will be covered in different videos, because I don't want to overwhelm you, and there are some testing that is required, like what is the best cultivator to use, what's the best fertilizer to use, do you want to use manure, sorry, did I just state? Don't use liquid fertilizer, or do you use mineral based? I want to test this. I don't want to just be told what the game says what's best. I want to do the testing to see what is the actual difference, what's the yield type difference, what's the usage difference, what's the cost difference, because at the end of the day with precision farming, it has a brand new aspect to the game. It is a game changer. I know game changer is used differently, not differently, used quite versatile nowadays, but precision farming DLC is a game changer. So that's going to be for this video, and today I'll also release the soil sampling video, so feel free to check this out after you've watched this. But for now, this is going to be from EnvoyXtreme, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.